Two physicians in Detroit are facing federal charges for allegedly running a clinic where they illegally mutilated young girls. We'll talk to a defender of female genital mutilation. Not easy to find, but we did after the break. Well, the FBI director's testimony today mostly focused on Russia and his behavior during the election, but it was not the only topic. Director Comey also referenced the FBI's investigation of two physicians accused of illegally performing female genital mutilation on young girls in Detroit.
This past week, for the first time since Congress passed a statute making it a crime in the United States to engage in female genital mutilation, to mutilate little girls. It's been a felony in the United States since 1996. We made the first case last week against doctors in Michigan for doing this terrifying thing to young girls all across the country. With our partners in the Department of Homeland Security, we brought a case against two doctors for doing this to children.
Fwambai Amadou chose to undergo what she calls female circumcision as an adult. She's also an anthropologist and in effect defends the practice of FGM, saying Western society is wrong to view it as inherently impressive. Dr. Amadou joins us tonight. Dr. Amadou, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Tucker.
So I'll concede this subject makes me so uncomfortable that I don't like to do segments on it. Right. But I also think it's really important because I think it's so horrifying that something like this is perpetrated on young girls as the father of young girls.
Right.
So you seem like a reasonable person and a well-educated person. It's amazing to me that anyone could defend this. Okay. On what grounds would you defend it?
So when you opened just now, you said that I defend FGM.
Yes.
And I don't defend FGM. I don't defend mutilation. I would never defend the mutilation of anyone. I don't identify with the term FGM, with the term mutilation.
Right.
I don't know anybody in my family who does or my community. And from over 25 years of research I've done on the field, I would say the great majority of women who are affected by what I call female circumcision practices do not see themselves as mutilated. So I think we need to start interrogating how we use that terminology.
Okay. I almost don't want to specify what it refers to because it's upsetting.
I think we should.
But it's the removal of a kind of key female sex organ in a lot of cases and this is being done to girls who obviously can't give consent.
Okay.
And it affects them for life. That would be my perspective.
Right. So Tucker, this is why I think we do need to have a discussion on what it is. Because when we use the term female genital mutilation, automatically a certain image comes to mind, an image that's really been put out there for over 30, 40 years in the media, in the mainstream media, and obviously through activist efforts and women's groups. It's the idea of the most horrific type of procedure, which is type 3. WHO classifies this as type 3 infibulation that involves the suturing and sewing up of the labia majora. This is a very rare procedure that is confined basically to a specific part of sub-Saharan Africa, the Horn of Africa. It makes up less than 10% of the entire prevalence of the procedures in sub-Saharan Africa and across various parts of the world. We need to understand that over 90% of what we call female circumcision involves what WHO classifies as types 1.
Right.
And that's divided into types 1A and B, and types 2A and B as well. So, for instance, the Dawudi Bora case that has become quite talked about in recent weeks with the arrest of the doctor, the female doctor, Dr. Nargawala, I believe, in Michigan. Their community, their Shiite Muslim, quiet community here in the United States, their community performs first of all, they perform circumcision on boys. We'll get to that in a moment. And they perform type 1A circumcision, which is a nick of the prepuce, the foreskin of the clitoris.
Right. That is not actually what is illegal as far as I understand. What I understand is the removal of an entire portion of the female sex organ without the consent of the child. Now, you underwent this as an adult. There's a quantum difference between making a decision to do something like that and having that decision made for you that cannot be reversed as a child. That seems to me probably the worst thing you could do to a child.
Okay, so back to the case of the Dawudi Bora doctor who's now in prison waiting trial. She is accused, she's charged with FGM, mutilating two 7-year-old girls. She performed NICS type 1A to the clitoral.
Yeah, I don't know that.
But it's really important.
I don't know that that's
what's
true.
happened is it is true, and what's happened is that it's the activists that have actually made this, the term female genital mutilation, they've conflated it with all these different practices.
But some of those activists are victims of the practice itself.
Well,
and we've interviewed them on this set, and they have said this has affected my life and my happiness and my ability to experience happiness in a profound way, and it's totally barbaric. And I guess I just don't buy the, hey, it's a different culture. Well, so was throwing widows on the pyre, and it's still wrong.
And I absolutely agree with you, Tucker, but there's one thing I want to correct. You said it removes a vital part of the female genital anatomy, all right? And is it okay if I actually say what that part is? Because there's a misconception about what actually, what these surgeries entail. There is no female circumcision procedure that removes the clitoris of a woman. It is absolutely impossible to remove a woman's clitoris without killing her. What is exposed is a tiny fraction of what is actually an extensive organ. That is
I'm going to stop you there, and just before we get too into it, right? Let me just say, would you concede, because there are a lot of women who feel mutilated by this? This is not, this is being led by women.
Sure.
That maybe we should let adults make this decision and not impose it on 6-year-olds. Is that fair?
Well, here's what I think about it. There are a lot of men, right, who have experienced male circumcision, who say that this is mutilation. In fact, in the courtroom, when Dr. Nargawala appeared in court, there were protesters outside. But they weren't anti-FGM
But that's not an argument for female circumcision.
No, what I'm saying is, you're saying to me that there are opponents to female circumcision.
Look, as you know, there's a lot of research. I don't want to get into the circumcision debate on men, but there's research. Okay, well then there's research that shows there are profound medical advantages in that. There's no research that shows there's any medical advantage to female genital mutilation.
First of all, that research is contested. There's a lot of research out there that says, yes, there is harm, there is risk.
Look,
there are over 100 deaths,
that's a separate
100
show.
Deaths each year from
that's
male
a separate show, and I'm open-minded. But what you're doing is not making.
You're saying we're abusing girls.
But that's like saying, we can't ban weed because beer is legal.
No, but listen, you are accepting that it is okay to perform a much more intensive or invasive procedure on boys.
That I'm accepting that. I'm just saying that this is bad to do to little girls.
I disagree. I think if we accept it in American society that we do remove, or we do remove the foreskin on boys, we do practice genital cutting here in the U.S. on boys, then it should not be impossible to understand that there are cultures, there are societies that practice what certain people are now calling gender inclusive
I just don't want it in my culture, in my society. I guess that's kind of what it comes down to.
So it's okay to cut boys in your
I'm not
society?
saying, look, I'm just saying I don't want this, because I think it's awful.
Well, we don't, in our culture, we don't discriminate. We have gender egalitarian surgeries. We do not discriminate. We don't discriminate.
We're out of time. I feel like we can finish the hour. I'd probably die of embarrassment by then, but thank you very much
for
coming on with that perspective. Well, a student group at UC Santa Cruz is